Agents of Atlas, the people behind the move.
Welcome back to Movified. I'm your host, Mark Hirschi, owner of Salmon's Moving and Stores located in beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia. And today is a Movified special with the Atlas agents. Welcome. I got Allans Wanko and I have Arlene Johnson, part of the Highland Worldwide Group division, if you want to call it. They have under their umbrella Dowell's, which is the moving and storage location in Victoria, British Columbia. They have Summit moving also in the Lower Mainland, and they also have a massive expertise in overseas. They have an overseas division as well too that I know a lot of us Atlas agents turn to help us out. Welcome, Alan and Arlene. I'm so happy to have you guys on.
Thanks for having us, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you. Well, I want to kind of dive right into it, and we're going to try and split into the sales side for Arlene and how she kind of got into it. But Alan, if you want to share with us, like, how did you find yourself in the moving world, and like what made you kind of be passionate about, oh, I really want to just move boxes and help people?
I mean, I'll start up. I was asleep in my bed as a 10-year-old and somehow got uplifted and ended up in a moving warehouse. Obviously, it's a family business that my father started in 1969. So it was just a given on his part that we were dragged in. So started being dragged in at the age of 10 years old. So just cleaning the warehouse and, folding pads, washing trucks, cleaning the office, straightening out packing paper so we could reuse it. Got paid like a penny a pound or something ridiculous like that. And it just, every summer growing up, my brother and I both worked every summer, every holiday, never had a summer holiday. Went from swamping to driving. And then just before I turned 19, ended up coming into the office side and worked in international sales for a year or two, and then domestic sales, and then morphed into operations. And that's like 55 years ago since the initial start for me. So yeah,
that's amazing. And for those that don't know, you also have your brother that works with you still within the company.
Yeah, I mean, so it's still a family operation. We're on our third generation with Robert's son Troy as well. My wife works a whole 1 day a week, so she's still in here periodically, and then Rob's wife works here, and Rob, and over the years, my daughters when they were young, it's a very family oriented operation, and always been that way, and continues to be so. And then we even see it in, employees over the years. We've had sisters and we've had, brothers and, all working here as well. So we, it's a little different now but in the olden days, we, a lot of times our hiring was you'd hire one and then next a sibling would come along, you hire them. And it was quite common, but it's, the world has changed a little bit now. So it's not quite that way anymore.
Well, I love that. I find that, I don't ever think that moving was ever a glorious industry that people would get out of school and go, wow, I can't wait to be a mover. But, what we've talked about a lot on the podcast is if you are in the moving industry, if you get your hands into becoming an owner of a company, you have to learn just about everything, like almost more than you would if you owned a restaurant or if you owned a different type of trades, because there's so many different variables in the moving industry, and especially when you expand into the different divisions, that could just take you into a whole different level that after you leave a moving company, you can just do anything almost, right? You're like, oh, this is easy. This is less stress than anything. Arlene, you obviously didn't come in from being part of the family pie. How did you get involved with the company, and what makes you so passionate about seeing people every day and just every time I see you, you're always just smiling? So you must love your job so much. Tell us a little bit about how you got involved.
Well, kind of not so much today because someone ate your donut.
Oh,
He wasn't smiling.
Upset when he ate my donut today. So yeah. I got into it young. I went to apply for a job at U-Haul, of all places, and they sent me to their a division that they had at that time, and it was called Movers World. And you could rent a truck, and then our guys would load the truck, or we had tractor trailers moving across the country. And I just thought that was the coolest thing, because I didn't even know you could hire people to move. I was so young and I'd never moved before. So it was very new to me. And so I went to become a receptionist for this company. And in 6 months, I just said, these sales people don't know what they're doing. And so I went out, and within 6 months, I was their top sales rep, and fell in love with, I think for me, it was being able to help people through a really stressful time. I could not believe the stress that people went under. And I did take psychology in college, not wondering, I always wondered, what was I going to actually do with this? And I can see I use it all the time. And I just, I worked for them for a little while, and then I went to work for an international company, and an opportunity came to work for Highland. And so I've been here for just over 36 years. Still very passionate. I tried to retire. I tried, but this is my family. You know, it may not be blood, but it's my family, and
Sure.
I'm treated well here, and except when somebody eats my donut. But outside of that, you know, the people that I work for in the office, or with in the office, some of them have been here longer than me. And so we're all at this place that no one wants to retire, because we're with our family all the time. And so I still have that passion. The odd time when it's a hard day or something like that, I wonder if I should stay with it. But then the next day something happens, and I just like, okay, I'm good.
Fall in love with it again, for sure. Well, it's crazy that Alan. It's crazy that Alan must have hired you when you were 16, because you told me, you keep telling me that you just turned 50 all the time. So if I'm putting the numbers together, it's got to be somewhere around there.
I'm just not too far behind him, but you would think I'd look older in this industry sometimes, because it is hard. You know, it's a really hard industry. As we go through more and more, it's even harder, but it's still, when you have a passion for helping people, I think people feel that. And I think that's what makes me want to keep doing it every day, because I worry, well, who's going to take care of these people if I leave? I know there's somebody else out there, but you keep thinking, I want to help, and I want to be there for them. So yeah, I absolutely love it still.
What would you tell someone today that was looking to get into the industry, especially on the sales side of things?
Yeah, I would think that they have to really, I would probably give them the truth about this industry, about that it can be hard, but that you are actually helping somebody. A lot of people actually go through a really difficult time. And if they have any empathy for people, I think that's the number one quality you need, is you need to be able to not just go bottom line price. What is that? You need to really reach into people and be able to understand what they're feeling as they're going through this process. So I would probably talk to them and be very real about it, and let them know it's not always that easy, but it is an incredible career to take on. I definitely, I mean, I've had some people that I've not tried to train, but train them. And you have to really, when you're hiring people, you have to be looking for that inside of them. You have to look, are they compassionate? Do they have that drive to be able to find out exactly what the customer is looking for? Or are they looking at just their commission or their bottom line?
Right.
Because that's going to make all the difference in the world. If the first thing they're talking about is how much do I make, that's not always, I mean, that's obviously something we all want to know, right? But it's not, you have to just be watching that. But I think if I was bringing somebody in, I would be very honest with them, and let them see the passion. Let them see my passion in it.
Yeah,
like
she
that.
finds it very rewarding, helping people and getting them through tough spots and solving problems for them and whatnot. So, yeah.
Where do you, when I think back of how long, and Alan, you were mentioning about, you know, the generational lifespan of Highland. At what point did Highland as a company go, okay, we really want to join forces, we want to get into the long distance division, and what made it stand out to go, okay, I want to team up with Atlas?
Well, we were when the company was formed, and the early, we were too small to join a van line like you wouldn't to the Canadian van line. So like I remember the old days. He was an agent for Red Ball in the U.S., but they had no presence in Canada. I think it was Lion Van Lines might have been another one. So our first connection was we were a North American Van Lines agent initially, like maybe 3 or 5 years into the business operations. And so we were for a number of years, maybe 4 or 5 years. And then we switched over to Mayflower, and we became a Mayflower agent. And that was a great time. Mayflower is a very good organization. Good, made the phones ring. That name was very well known, and there was only 2 Mayflower agents in the Vancouver area, so it worked out very well for us.
Sure.
As we got into the early 90s, Mayflower was looking at diverging themselves from Canada and selling off a group of our agents. We tried to buy the Canadian van line from the U.S. van line, and they opted to sell it to Allied van lines. So at that point, some of the agents jumped ship. Some went to United, some went to Atlas. And so basically in that time, your options were Atlas, United, North American, and Allied. No Mayflower anymore. So we had to rebrand. So we were taken in under the Allied umbrella. And, we knew they were wanting us to rebrand to, they weren't going to market Mayflower at the time. They just wanted it to be Allied. And so we thought, well, okay, what are you offering for the rebranding process? And we weren't satisfied with their proposal. So we went to look elsewhere, and we approached Atlas Van Lines, who had a container system at the time. Mayflower had a container system, so that was a factor. And that was one of our biggest reasons was to join Atlas at the time, was because of the containers. But over the years, we've developed a great relationship with agents, and it's been a win-win, I think, for both sides. So.
Mm-hmm.
How have you seen, now being part of Atlas over so many years, how have you seen like it help you grow your business? How has that transformed, just being a local residential mover to now expanding and obviously then learning about overseas as well too, and expanding to that area?
Well, the overseas side, that was started back in the 70s as well. So we've always had that side of it, and it's always been a big part of it. The van line, joining Atlas, which was a bigger van line than Mayflower, gives opportunities, more contacts. And it's surprising how much your business grows with time, just based on who you know, and building the bond and communicating with agents right across the country. And that's been a huge help for us, and continues to be. So people that work for an agent in Toronto, then they move to somewhere else. The tie is always there. So I'm always shocked at how much business we generate, not even by ourselves. It's by the people we know, the agents we've dealt with, them calling us or sending leads to us. And that's why changing van lines is a difficult decision to make, because you lose a lot of the contacts you have and a lot of the business that you generate or they generate for you. And you really learn to appreciate, the fact that you have these connections and you have these long-standing relationships, because it makes it's a huge deal. And we noticed difficult when we changed from Mayflower to Atlas. The start was very difficult. You're coming in knowing very few agents, and they all have their, people they use and work with. And we provide quality service, but it takes a while to let everybody know who we are and who they're dealing with.
Sure. It's
So
like
that's
it's like a bad divorce. And then you're being reintroduced to like a new family, and you're like, oh man, I already know what to do, but I really don't want to do this all over again. I don't like these family reunions and a bunch of people I don't know. And then you have to work on those relationships. Honestly, Alan, that is to me one of the biggest things when it comes to long distance, and is the network and building relationships. And if you're not interested in building those relationships, no one's going to know who you are, especially if you don't have offices all across Canada or North America. If you just have 1 or 2 locations, you need to stand out. You need to make sure that you're making that appearance and build those relationships so that there's a sense of trust as well too, which I think is key. And that's why I know that Salmons and Highlands work so well together. There's this longevity of relationship as well, and it works well within the Atlas family. Now, obviously, when we talk about community in our different areas, we're about a half an hour drive away from each other. What does Highland do to work on the local side of things? How does it impact the community that it's around, and what's your approach to getting your name out there?
That's our marketing
Yeah.
podcast, I believe. Is
I think we get a lot of referral business. We work with real estate agents. Even just yesterday, I had a real estate agent give me 2 leads on people that he's working with right now. One long distance, one local. Last week I had another referral on an estate move. So a lot of business come to us that way. Last week I just did a quote for somebody that lived next door to somebody I moved 2 years ago. So that is a big part of our business that we get. And, honestly, we have not probably immersed ourselves in our community the way we would like to, just because of shortage of staff to do that kind of stuff, like getting out to different functions and that. But wherever we can, we do plug into different things. We'll, sponsor something once in a while, or we'll donate to something that our name is out there. The golf tournament last year, but not necessarily the movers one, but even a Delta Chamber.
Sure.
The odds of time you're plugging into something like that where you get your name out there. But I would say the bulk of our business is I go through our website and
referrals
and
referrals.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Again, building those relationships.
Yeah. Also, the fact of 3 generations of Wankos, the people I know and the people my brother know, like, friends and family that move with us. It's, it's surprising. Like, it's like, oh, that's a friend of this or a friend of that. It's like,
Well, you build that foundation over generations.
Exactly.
You have a name that you can trust for
Mhm.
sure.
Okay.
How do you try and keep everything running smoothly without losing your sanity when it comes to the busyness of the summer months?
Well, you have to have a sense of humor. That's to me, that's up front the key, right? You have to find humor no matter what you're doing, and you have to enjoy what you're doing. So whether it's in peak time, yeah, it's crazy and some frustrated things happen, but we still joke around in operations. We tease each other. We keep it light as we can, and try to make so that every day doesn't feel like just a horror show, right? It's just, yeah, you just find ways to humor each other and tease each other and keep it going. And it's like playing on a hockey team, as far as I'm concerned. You the little banter that goes back and forth, keep it light, and makes your job a whole lot easier.
No, I love that. Obviously, in the beginning, I mentioned multiple different companies that are underneath the Atlas Worldwide Group. There are business professionals that I've talked to that says, hey, okay, if you are doing acquisitions and you're buying other companies in different areas and they have a strong name, that's great. But eventually you want to assume one major name. What was your choice on these type of acquisitions in the areas? And then B, what stopped you from saying, you know what, we're just going to switch Dowell's to Highland, and we're going to just have Summit as a second location for Highland and just have the whole impact of one name, one brand?
Well, Dallas, it goes back to the 20s, so 1929 in the Victoria area. So just because of the steep history involved in it, we've opted to keep that name because it's synonymous with moving in the Victoria area. So we felt that benefit was there. We still our paint schemes and color schemes of vehicles are the same, just different names on it. So we do have some connection based on that. And then we do market as a Highland Worldwide Group as well. The Summit name, we keep the name, but we really still market it under Highland Worldwide. It's a separate name because of the government business out there, and that's the only reason we've kept it there. But typically, we're a Highland truck shows up, Arlene shows up, or the rep, and we market as a group. We don't really push the Summit name. It's just a name.
Arlene's just tossing out 3 or 4 different business cards. She's like, I got my name on them all with different logos. Here you go. Flip a card. Which company do you want to choose? Because I'm showing up no matter what.
And you do have to watch that sometimes, because sometimes I forget that I'm actually going in under Summit and I've got a Highland card, right? But my business cards always say Division of Highland Worldwide on the side, right? So I don't try to hide anything from anybody. I just explain the situation, but it's, that name is a bit known out in the valley more so than in here. So people out in the valley have, used us and call them. And so I actually have no problem with it. I feel like it's a good way of marketing our different companies. Yeah. And, it works, So.
Alan, what would you tell someone that's in the industry that's listening that is looking to do acquisitions? What are some things that they should look for I'm looking to purchase this company? Look for ABC, and then also, especially on that side of, you said Dowell's has been around since 1920. Let's say this company's only been around since 2020, right? So where do you differentiate of saying, okay, we are going to switch it over to the one brand? So what were some of the things that you would recommend to look out for when you're acquiring a company?
Well, I would depend on where they are in your market. I mean, if it's an acquisition up in Kelowna or something like that, well, and it's a relatively new, well, definitely we would be switching that over to our own brand name. In your own marketplace, it might, if you keep running 2 different brands, it potentially gives you 2 more opportunities because of how you want to separate it, right? So you have 2. If you have 2 good brand names in one market, I think it might be your advantage to keep it as 2 separate marketing identities and run it that way. Our acquisitions of, the Victoria one, at one time when we first took it over, we actually had, I think, at the old days, like I think I've mentioned to you before, the government business was rotated on turns, and we actually had, whether it be Reliable, Dowell's, and I can't remember, there was a third one. But, we eventually just pared it down. We never marketed the other ones. We just did it all as Dowell's. But yeah, as I said, if it's somewhere, like I said, if we ever looked into the Okanagan, we would definitely market it under the Highland name. But, Victoria, just because of the history, deep history, we've continued with that direction with Dowell's, and I said, we done our color schemes and everything, so you can see there is a tie when you see our 2 trucks together.
When you are, obviously it's a juggling act when you're dealing with customers that are moving across Canada and making sure that they have everything organized, from documents, paperwork, especially even if they're moving cross border. Arlene, what is something that you recommend to your customers to give them a sense of ease when they're moving? Like, what are some of the tips that you provide to them to say, we're going to take care of you, but like, if you do XYZ, this is going to make your move even more smoother?
I work with my client the whole way through. I try not to farm it out to anybody else in the office. I'm on them. I do all their custom documents to make sure, like, I get them to do them, send them to me. I review them. Going across the country, I might involve one of the girls in the office to, line up some of the information that's needed at the other end. Recently we've had to implement some things because we were noticing some problems of things happening at destination. So we decided to change the way we did a few things around here. We try to give our customers as much information as we can in writing so that they have tips on how to get ready. I work on weekends if they need to get in touch with me. I try to answer emails when they come in. I say, for me, I see that I've got 2 ladies in the office that are very hands-on with my work. And so it helps me stay on top of it. And I think this really makes a difference, instead of giving it to someone else to handle, who wasn't in the home or who didn't do the survey. And I think there's the trust factor. It's got to be huge between myself and a client. If they trust me to handle all their personal effects, I better be doing my job to make sure that they're calm the whole time. And the odd time you've got a customer that just flies off the handle because they're stressed out. And it's how, people say to me, how do you stay so calm? Well, it's not my move.
Yeah.
And I have masters. I've got people, like I've got how many years combined just between Alan and Rob, two people in the office are over like close to 100 years of experience that I can come
Sure.
in and talk to, right? So I think that makes a big difference on how we handle like clients the whole way through. And when it comes to the US, I don't want my truck parked at customs and allowing a customs officer to go through it, because it can be kind of messy. So if I can make sure everything is in order before it even loads onto that truck, it gives me and the customer some reassurance that, hey, this is going to go through. So it's a lot. It's, it's always changing. Customs is always, something
Sure.
new come into play, and I better be on top of that, right?
Yeah,
So,
which is great.
Yeah.
It's definitely hard to find a unique person like you, Arlene, because I don't find that there's that many out there these days that want to make sure this customer. It's like, oh, Friday, all right, 6 o'clock, all right, peace out. Sorry, I guess your move is moving on Saturday, but with you, so that you can see the commitment at Highlands, to making sure your customers are well taken care of. Alan, when we've talked about trust, everything. What does the Trusted Atlas Agent brand mean to you?
It's just to have, it's our commitment to excellence. It's and our commitment to our fellow agents that, when they hand something over to us, that we're going to make sure it's looked after. So, and we expect the same from them, right? And that's the key, is just that you need that comfort and knowing that whoever we're dealing with on the other side, that we know the quality that they're going to produce for us, and is very important.
And I love that. That's a solid answer. So well done, Alan. You pass. Joking. Whew. I know, we can breathe. Finally, where can the listeners go to find you guys online? What areas do you service? Can you shed some light on that?
We'll service everywhere. With the program that we have in place right now, we can service all over the world. I prefer just the US and Canada, but I'll do surveys, online anywhere. But, as far as getting in touch with us, come through our website, coming through phone calls,
And what's that website name?
Oh gosh, what is it? I don't have it memorized.
You failed. You failed.
www.highland-worldwide.com.
All right, so that's www.highland-worldwide.com.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And we jump on our information that's coming through there. We try and get on it right away. We don't want people, just waiting, because there's a lot of movers out there, like a lot.
Sure.
And they're all jumping on it. So, we're trying to get on it and deal with it as soon as it's coming in.
Yeah, we try and respond to our email inquiries or internet inquiries quick as possible. Yeah.
That's great. You're well taken care of.
So
exactly. Well, this has been a pleasure. I really appreciate you coming on the show. Alan, Arlene, I know you guys are super busy and you have a busy day ahead of you, making sure you're taking care of all those customers. So thank you so much for coming on Movified. It's been a pleasure. For any more information, you will find it in the details, in the descriptions, when everything gets posted. And you can reach out to Arlene, who would probably be the best person to reach to about any kind of move that you got coming up. And if you want to learn more, you can always reach out to Alan as well too. And it's highland-worldwide.com. Thank you so much. And for all those listeners, stay Movified.